This is episode 10 of the Devlab series, and in this episode we will set up a Fedora-based Python development environment using Ansible, and use this environment to write a script that would run a competition between AI models. The script will connect to an AI server, ask it about the models it serves, then ask each one of these models the same question and show the results. Let's start with the Ansible code that will generate our development environment. We have used Debian in the previous development environments we built for Node.js and Vue.js and Dashi in episode 8, and for PHP and Drupal and Laravel Lumen in episode 9. Today we will switch to Fedora because Fedora offers packages of the recent versions of Python, while Debian offers only Python 3.11 and requires compiling the other versions or getting them from a different source. The Fedora LXC template that comes with Proxmox virtual environment, our hypervisor in this season, Proxmox. This LXC template does not have a secure shell server, but we solved that problem in episode 6 when we deployed GitLab in Alma Linux. We will use the same role today. Today we will create 3 virtual environments for Python 3.10, 3.11 and 3.12 just for testing. The script is to create them is running right now, and I would like to start by the playbook. So this is the playbook that will create the 3.10 Python environment. We have the usual suspect in the beginning, which is recreate the environment if it exists and we want to recreate it. Then we have the role to enable SSH. We have seen that role earlier in episode 6. Then we have a new role here, which is the base Fedora role. I'll show you the base Fedora role right now. Then we have another new role, which is the Python virtual environment. The base Fedora is similar to the base Debian. Basically, it's the same tasks, but customized for Fedora. So these are like, instead of apt here, we use DNF. We use here, for example, there is a change. This destination path is different when we copy the certificates. So it is different from what we used to do in Debian. The defaults file is different. We see that we also changed the name of the OpenSSL package. The rest is the same. There is no difference in the rest, and here, yes, there is no difference in the rest. So you can go back to episode, I think episode 5, when we built this base Debian role, and see the description there. We will not focus on it today. Looking at the new role that we care about in this episode, it is the Python venv role. This role will create a virtual environment in the container that we created in the playbook. So first we start by installing Python at the required version of Python. This comes from the variable file, and I'll show you the variable file. Then we create a virtual environment in a directory that is specified also by the variable file. And we created under the username, the dev username. We want to do all our development under the dev username. So we log into the environment with the dev username and create this virtual environment. Then we need to enable this virtual environment to the dev user by default, so that with each login we source the activate script, and this script, this plugin file model in the Ansible built-in collection, what it does is it inserts this block if it does not exist in the destination file, and the destination file for us here is bash profile. In this script, we check if the script has run before. If the script has previously run, we do not run it again. So now we should have an activated virtual environment for the user in the environment. Looking at the defaults, we don't have defaults. Let's look at the variable files. So let's look at this one, for example. This will be VMID to 122, and this will be the host name, and this will be the Python version. The other stuff is usual. We have seen it before. We will save by default in this environment. We will save the virtual environment as .env in the virtual directory. And we will activate it by default, which is what will run that block that we have looked at. In 3.11, we have a different Python version. Everything is the same, and except for the here and the IB, and here also the VMID, the IB, the MAC address which generates the IB, and the host name. And apparently I have created 3 virtual environments while I was talking. So let's look at them. This is the VM, sorry, that I use to interact with the Devlab. And let's open the first one. And you see in the shell, we have a virtual environment. So let's see which version of Python we have. We have 3.10 here. We have 3.11 here. And let's see here, this should work. So we have here Python 3.12. Let's use the latest version and start building our script. So if we look here, this is the virtual environment directory, and under lib we see we do not have any pip package, packages, only pip and this thing here. We are ready to do some AI development, and the AI server that we will use is my local installation of Olama. Olama is an open source AI engine that you can run locally on your machine, and you can pull models from its repository and run them also locally on your machine. I have Olama installed on a Dell Precision laptop with a Quadro A300 card and an Intel i9 12th generation CPU and a lot of DDR5 RAM. We will connect to this machine using the newly released Olama Python model. And I want to create a new folder called AI model competition. So I want to run a competition between my AI models. And I know I'll need to use Olama, so let's create a requirements file. And here we put Olama. And we run this requirements file. Let's keep your eye on the packages here, because this will show that we are installing packages in our virtual environment. Olama was installed. It's a nice library. It was installed. So before I create any Python code, I want to make sure that I have the Python extension enabled. It is not, so let's enable it. Python, it's this one. While it is installing, we can create a new main.py file, and here from Olama import client, and let's have Olama model documentation here. So the first thing I want to do is to get a list of first I want to create a client. So where is the documentation for creating a client? Custom client, it's here. I know that, so let's call it Olama. So now I can do Olama.list, and maybe I can print that. We get what appears to be a JSON object. but we see that we have models, and it is an array that of objects that have a name. So let's print these names. To print these names, we need a for loop. For, let's see what we have now. Those are the models that I have installed on my machine. Let's ask them a question. Ask all of them a question. So instead of this, I want to do llama.generate. The prompt would be, for example, tell me a programmer joke. And let's catch the response in a variable called joke and print what we get. I see we are getting jokes, but you see the jokes they are a JSON object and they have a response property. So I don't need to continue this. I can print joke response. Let's see now. Why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. Really? I prefer dark mode because light attracts bugs. He knows. This AI knows me. And we are getting jokes, but the output is not formatted prettily. So let's format it in a table so that we can compare the jokes that we got from these models. So let's stop this. I don't want to continue, but I want to format it in a table. So let's create a table. And I want to have headers in the first row. So the headers would be the model name and then the joke. So instead of printing the joke, I want to append it to my table. Want to append first the model name, then the joke. And this should generate a nice table. But now let's format this table using tabulate. And print the formatted table in the same time. Tabulate the table. So we got a response from all the models, but it's not very well formatted. We should do better with formatting. Good. So now we have a few jokes, and I had to fix an error here. I moved these. It was here. So it was all the variables, all the parameters were in the wrong place. So now it's fixed and it works for us. And we got some jokes from CodeLlama, which is a code AI programmer, and also a Chinese programmer joke from Quen, which is a 14 billion tokens AI, and this was a 30 billion, and it ran well on my machine, although like I only have 12 GB GPU RAM. What I'd like to say here is that I tested this before and I got very funny answers when you change the prompt. So like if you want to try to change the prompt and ask the AI who is Alan Shore, for example, you will get interesting answers. Who is Denny Crane? You will get also interesting answers. Ask them about fictitious characters in TV, in novels, and you will get interesting answers. Now, that was for fun, but for work, I think this is an interesting concept. I did not see anything before. I did not see any script that compares AI performance. Of course, we can add, change the prompt, for example, change the system prompt. I can add system here and change the system prompt. I can also measure the time they give me, the time they get on the result, and produce a nice table here that can be sometimes useful for me for making decisions about what AI I want to use for a specific task, or share it for the future. So I'm still not decided, but I think this script will become its own repository. It's very small right now, like within 10 lines, we got this nice table of jokes. It could be a joke machine. It could be like what I called it, a competition, AI competition machine. Uh, I will update you. I will put it in the description of this video if I create a repository for this. I really enjoyed working on that competition script, and I hope you will enjoy running it on your Devlab. Some follow-up notes. Our pull request for Dashi is still pending. The pull request for the episode 9 is still open, but I will merge it after I send the pull request for episode 10. And I will try to keep always an open pull request in the repository so that anybody who wants to give some feedback on the code, they can go and check my pull requests. I am considering launching an additional series, not a series, I might call it a show, an additional show that has different topics, that covers different topics in shorter videos. And still not decided how to do that, so I will update you later. In the next episode, we will do a certificate authority with Ansible, and that will be really hardcore OpenSSL. Then I will answer the question for Imtiaz Ali in the comments. He asked about Docker and Swarm, and I will try to do that. I never did Swarm before. I will try to do that for him. After that, we will go directly to the Linux router and set up our custom router in the Devlab so that we can continue with like more advanced topics in the Devlab. One of the advanced topic that I'm planning is to consider whether we can do .NET Core development in Linux. I have never done that before. I think it will be fun to try to do it, so let's do it. Then we will have more episodes. We will go back to the lamp role and deploy WordPress using that role. We will deploy also Moodle for educational development in the Devlab as well. And I have other plans that I will talk about in time. I want to thank all the people who subscribed to my channel and all the people who like my videos and who clap for me on Medium. And I hope we will see you again.